this contestant going for is for the WWE Championship.
Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
Welcome to Around the Turnbuckle. I'm Big Al. That guy right there is Professor Keith, as always, and joining us, the Unwilting Tatiana. What's up?
Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's get right at it. You love wrestling. You wouldn't be in the ring putting your body on the line for our entertainment if you didn't love wrestling. So when did that happen for you?
When did I fall in love
with wrestling?
Ooh, okay. Actually, this is fun. I actually know the exact day that it happened. Nice. It was December 21st, 2009. Johnny Damon was the guest host for Monday Night Raw, and I was obsessed with baseball at the time. So I was like, baseball player, I gotta watch. And he was on for like a total of maybe like 6 minutes of the entire show. Just barely there to wave and smile. But the show was so ridiculous and just so much fun. I was like, I have to keep coming back. And I did, and I kept having fun watching it. And I fell in love with the product. Everything about it was just so amazing and fun and goofy to me. I loved it.
So at some point, you're like, you went from loving it on TV to wanting to do it. So when did that happen?
Oh, I don't know the exact date for this one. It was when it was in the midst of the Mickie James storyline with Laycool. I think she had a minor injury that put her out for a couple of weeks, and she made her big return. And up until that point, every woman that they had featured on television had like a supermodel look almost. Like even Layla and Gail Kim, like they just had these incredible bodies. And I've always been a pretty stocky person. I've always been short. I've always been on the thicker side, broad shoulders, broad hips, all that jazz. I was never going to be like the super skinny person. It's just not possible for me. But when Mickie James came out, she looked, I hate saying this, she looked like a normal person. She looked
right.
Like just
you're right.
Yeah, she looked like a regular athletic person. And I just had this moment of, oh my God, she looks like me. Wait a minute. I can do this? I don't have to be a stick to do this? Oh, let's go.
That's awesome that Mickie James, because Mickie James was always one of my favorites for that reason. She stood out as the Barbie doll type that was skinny and perfect and blah, blah, blah. She seemed like that, country girl type that, that America kind of fell in love with. And I think that's awesome that she influenced you in that way.
Oh, for sure. And what's funny is like looking back and just sort of looking at her compared to everybody else in the roster, there really wasn't that much of a difference. But it's it's interesting to see how like beauty standards have changed for the better from that time to now.
Yes. We got some comments here for you.
Oh, and just
our old friend David Motorman says it's Sunday night with Tatiana around the turnbuckle. A treat indeed. Chris Vant from South Carolina saying what's up.
Hey,
and the Thundercat is here, Professor. Hello, guys and gals. What is your character and what is your finish? He is a wrestler of over 18 years from Alabama.
Wrestler promoter.
Oh, well, thanks for coming along, Greg. I'll see. My character. I am the feistiest flower in all of pro wrestling. I'm here to kick ass and take roots, and I'm all out of roots. And my finish is the implant DDT, which I call the crown of thorns. So,
Love that.
I like that name. Love that name.
Awesome. It's awesome. Keith, were you going to say something before I got those comments up?
Yeah, because actually, you mentioned Mickey James, and Mickey James is actually a very down to earth person. I have a friend in Kentucky that actually, the Lowe's that he works in, she and her husband actually come in and frequent it. So he's actually been able to like wait on her and talk to her a little bit. And he's like, she is not a superstar. She does not have that superstar mindset, just very down to earth, regular person and whatnot. And it comes across on the screen. And I mean, I'd be really interested to see how many people share your, story and reaction to her where they saw her and they're like, wait a minute, this is attainable for me now, because this is not like you say that looks like a supermodel or has that, beauty catalog look. Here's somebody that is a pretty girl, but she is an athlete and she's not, you know, right off the pages of the glossy magazine. Hey, I'm going to go out and, see if I can train and do this now.
all right. I'd imagine there's quite a few people that have felt that way. And I imagine that today, with just the amount of body diversity that there is in wrestling and how acceptable it is to not look like a top tier athlete, if you will, I'd imagine that there's a lot of kids that are watching independent wrestling, that are watching regular wrestling on television and going, oh my God, I can do this. And that's kind of what I hope to do as a wrestler. Like I said, I've never been the skinny type. I'm currently on a pretty rough fitness journey, trying to bring my body to a point that I'm content with. But in the meantime, I still embrace the fact that like I'm a mid-sized woman. I have rolls. I have, I have jiggly bits and all that. I don't always look like an athlete, but when I get into the ring, when I start working with people, regardless of their size and their shape, I look like a wrestler because I am one. My shape does not define who I am or what I can do.
Yeah, and I got to tell you guys, Keith and I had the privilege of calling one of Tatiana's matches, and she can work. The girl can work in the ring. So if you ever get a chance to see her live, I highly recommend it. So let's go back. There's a really big comment here from Greg Thundercat. He has and I'm going to get that in a minute. But let's go back to, okay, so where did you seek training? Who trained you?
I was trained by Quinn Magnum back when he still ran the school at Pro Wrestling Express in McKeesport. He's no longer there. He now works with RWA done outside of Pittsburgh. I'm not actually sure where they're stationed at right now. My training began in March of 2018 and wrapped up around December of 2019. What Quinn kind of taught us throughout our journey was your training doesn't stop just because you debut in the ring. So his plan for myself and for everyone else I trained with was we'd have our first match, we'd start having matches on the regular, and for like the first year of being an active wrestler, we'd continue training and start adding more and start building our character more. Unfortunately for me, he stepped away from training at PWX, which I did as well. And I went to work alongside of Rise Wrestling for a little bit to sort of smooth out the cracks. But that's around the time that my training kind of came to an end.
Okay. Let me get this comment in from Greg because he loves to offer advice and things like that. So he's been in the game for quite some time. So he says, I absolutely love the way you incorporate the botanicals lingo with your entire character. It's a perfectly wonderful, and a lot of people get into the business and want to do what has already been done. But with the way you got your gimmick going on, you'll definitely get more bookings. I gotta get rid of that. Yeah. Sorry, I might have to book this one, guys.
I hope so. I'd love to come down to Alabama.
Yeah, it's
And
Alabama.
I really appreciate the comment. I really appreciate the comment. I've tried to make this gimmick as much a part of me as, my hairstyle or my tattoos or anything. I just try to make it natural. No pun intended.
David from York. What's up, David? Good evening. How are you? Chris Vant back. He's like, who do you mentor your wrestling style after? Like, which female wrestler? Do you have some influences we mentioned Mickey James earlier.
Well, that's really hard. I haven't really focused my style based off of any one wrestler. I've always kind of struggled to have one person to sort of focus on. I've tried to sort of pull from, I'd say influence wise, I've pulled a lot from Beth Phoenix as well as Mickey James.
Sure.
She's another wrestler who doesn't fit the whole supermodel style of wrestling. She's always been very muscular and very strong looking.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's really the only one that I can think of that I've really consistently pulled from style wise. Everyone else I've learned from so many different women just working alongside of them, or just watching them on television.
Greg said, just be you and no one else can be you.
Steal from multiple people, it's homage.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we get that a lot, right, Keith? We get people usually say, well, it's not just one person. It's I take a bunch from different people and kind of incorporate it and then make it my own kind of thing, right?
And I mean, I think you should. I think you should always be watching, what's going on now to stay current, watching the past, trying to figure out, ooh, I could use that. Oh, I could use that. Oh, this would work with this. Like, there's over 100 years of history, and I really do believe wrestling is a craft, and we've all been lucky enough to have people let us into it to work on our individual particular piece of that craft. And like you say, I think the learning never stops, and I think you're just crazy, especially in this day and age with things like streaming and YouTube and stuff like that, to not be out there and being like, what can I pick up? Even if I go way, way back, like there might be something from even the 1950s where you could go like, I could steal that. Nobody's doing that now, but it would still work today. So let me do it.
Oh, I agree 100%. I was once at an open ring, and a friend of mine had some old UK wrestling pulled up from I think the late 80s, early 90s, really old footage. But there was a sequence that we both just kept rewinding and rewatching. And I said, all right, let's go try this. And it ended up building a cute little sequence that everybody thought was fun. And then we forgot it and forgot to incorporate it into a match. But that'll still happen at open rings and classes that I attend, where just somebody is watching something and we'll see a little sequence, just a little tiny thing, and go, that looks like fun. Let's try it.
Okay, so you were trained. So talk about that first match in front of people. Do you remember it? And do you remember who you wrestled?
So I technically had two first matches. The one that I count as the beginning of my career was a singles match versus Charlie Cruel on October 27th of 2019.
Okay.
The first time stepping in front of a live crowd, though, was in February of 2019 for a literal one night, one off gimmick match. It was a tag team match. My tag partner was named Annabelle, and it was against a group called OSHA Incorporated. And I remember being terrified. And I didn't even have that much to do in the match. They were the plan was, we're going to kick you and then we're going to do a pin sequence and all you have to do is take the kick and then just lay there. And I was still so terrified, like, what if I trip? What if my costume rips? Oh no.
Right.
What if I like fall on my face and something happens? And then with Charlie, I got the call that the match was going to happen almost last minute. So I did not have like a lot of time to let it sink in and, practice what I was going to do in the ring. It was kind of like, oh, I have one night to process this and then I got to go and then I got to do this. And I was bouncing and fidgeting. I was going over it again and again. And I was just like, I hope I don't mess up. I hope I don't mess up. And everybody kept walking over and be like, you're going to be fine. Relax. You're going to be fine. And I was.
Was she more of a veteran or was she rather new at the time too?
I think she was somewhat new. I think she was about a year and some change in, if memory serves correctly. I do remember, though, that I was the first person that she was the first match for. She found out, like, as we were calling the match, she was like, how many matches have you had? And I went,
This one.
surprise? And she was like, oh, okay, cool. This is great.
All right, so you and I talked about some of the places that you've been. Let's re-talk about that now. Some of the places that you've been up and down the basically the East Coast, but most of it in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, places like that.
Let's see if I can remember everything.
Well, you don't have to remember all of it, but
yeah, I'll try to remember some of the main places. Obviously, we met at 3WA. Let's see. I mainly work for, currently, I do a lot of shows with T2T Pittsburgh, and I work with a lot of their students. Let's see. I have worked with Desire Pro Wrestling out in Ohio. I was with Mid-Ohio Wrestling for a good chunk of time as a manager before the company turned over. I'm currently, I'll start with formally. I am the former women's champion for World Domination Wrestling Alliance out in West Virginia.
Right.
Currently, I am the champion for 1CW down in Houston, Delaware, as well as Victory Pro Wrestling down in Bayshore, New York. And I'm technically also the Pizza Party champion for a little promotion called Poser Wrestling based out of Dayton, Ohio. And the only reason it's a technicality is because the company has not run for 2 years and does not look like they will be running again anytime soon. I hope they do because it was a fun show and I really want to defend that belt. See, there was a good chunk of time that I was working with H2O down in New Jersey, and I hope to work with them again in the future. And yeah, there's been a lot of like there's obviously been other promotions in majority of those areas here and there, but those are the ones that I've really like kept going back to, and I'm really familiar with the crowd.
Well, my point to that was when you mentioned you've been doing this for only 4 years, you've really, no pun intended, branched out.
I have certainly tried to. Another thing that was really taught to me was to climb in the car, and even if there's no work, just climb in the car, shake hands, make connections, watch other people's product. And I never let that go. Even now, I'll still hit up somebody every once in a while and be like, hey, I saw you're going here. Can I climb in? And, sometimes I get to, and it ends up being really fun. And even if I'm just watching the show, I still get a really cool experience. And I try to, when I work with the students, I try to like tell them that, like, climb in the car, even if you don't have guaranteed work, go watch someone else, go somewhere else, shake hands, all that.
Do you enjoy the teaching aspect of it? Can you see yourself doing that when you can't wrestle anymore?
I don't know. I don't like to consider myself a teacher.
Well,
If any,
you work with some of the students.
oh yeah, no, I definitely have worked with the students, and
Mhm.
I have been trusted in the past to sort of like, not coach them, but like assist them with, whatever they've been learning, just like go through it again, helping them refine it.
Mhm.
But I'm not a teacher. I don't have the coaching mantle anywhere. That being said, I'm not really sure if I could see myself being a teacher. Um, to be a wrestling teacher, you have to be incredibly confident in your ability to do the work
Right.
and to
Mhm.
know a lot of different techniques so you can help any student do whatever style they wish to, or at least help them find the means to learn more about the style they want. And that's,
Right.
at least right now, is not a confidence I have. I've certainly built up the confidence that I have to perform in the ring and keep myself safe as well as keep my opponent safe, which is much more important. But I don't feel right now like I can, sit somebody down, start them from the very beginning, and help
Mhm.
them make their way to the ring. But that may
Uh,
change someday. We'll see.
David says we need her at SWO. Her and Kimberly Spirit would be a great match. Yes,
Yeah.
we
I've
agree.
actually, yeah, I've actually faced Kimberly Spirit before, not on one-on-one
Mhm.
competition, but when 1CW had their inaugural women's championship match, it was myself, Kimberly, Adriana, and let me pull up her name because it always slips me. That's another thing I always tell students is keep a list of the matches that you perform in and like
Right.
try to get the names of as many opponents as possible.
Now, Chris asked about your first
And
match. Chris, if you're watching, we already talked about her first match. So, in case you missed it, go check it out.
so it was myself, Kimberly Spirit, Adriana, and Taylor Brooks in a
Okay,
four-way
there you
elimination
go.
match. So I'd love to face Kim again and have a little one-on-one. She was a lot of fun to work with.
We have the pleasure of seeing her each and every month at SWO. The professor is the play-by-play call man there, and I am the ring announcer there.
Oh, that's wonderful.
SWO is in Susquehanna Wrestling Organization is located in the York, PA area.
Mhm.
Um,
Run Red Lion and Seven Valleys usually.
yeah, Greg it is tough to be a wrestling coach. I'm a trainer, and as well at one of my shows here. Yeah, he's a wrestler,
Oh,
trainer, promoter
He does all
extraordinaire.
the things. All the
He,
things.
he wears all that.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
no, I give a lot of
Popcorn
props to
film.
people who become wrestling coaches. It's definitely a difficult job.
Definitely. So,
Yeah.
talk about some of your favorite matches on this 4-year journey so far.
Oh man, now I have to think. I've had quite a few. My most let's see. One of my favorite tag team matches. I've been doing a lot of tag team wrestling lately. Was against the production Derek Dillinger and Ziggy Heim with Nick's Wild.
Mhm.
We kind of found out about it very similar to facing Charlie the day before,
Mhm.
but we ended up having just a really fun match where we all just sort of tested each other and tested what we could do. It was a really big opportunity for me and Nick's, my tag partner, because it was the first title match the two of us had ever been in for tag titles.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, it was fun, and everyone, despite us not winning, we still left the match pretty happy about our performance. Oh man. I had a match with Rob Chase down in New Jersey for Intergender Bonanza 14, I believe it was. And that was another
Okay.
one of that was another match that really tested my limits, but the two of us just had a lot of fun. There was a lot of practical joking. There was a lot of like, oh, well, what if we did this? Oh, what if we did that? The finish was me grabbing a bag of nerds, specifically a D&D box of nerds, and using it like thumbtacks to hit the crown of thorns onto him with. and
Unbelievable.
the, and I remember like showing him, because my friend had brought me the nerds, and I showed it to him, and he just looked at them and looked at me and said, "Let's use them. Do you want to use them? I'll take something on this. Do you want to do it?" And I'm like, "Oh, let's go. Hell yeah, I do." I've just had a lot of matches. The matches that I enjoy the most are the ones that like we're in the back, we're calling it, and we're laughing and we're making jokes.
Mhm.
Valerie Verman, I love
Mhm.
having matches with
Oh,
Valerie.
such a
Who's
good
just
worker.
Mhm.
she's excellent in the ring, and I love
Mhm.
calling matches with her because just not only do we like come up with ideas of like, oh, you said you wanted to hit this, well, what if we did this to get there, but like once we have the match down pat, then we're adding jokes, then we're like goofing around and adding sound effects. We're made joking around like that just makes the environment just so much more relaxed and easy to like think straight and like, hey, you know what, I keep getting stopped up on this, let's figure out what's going on there. um but yeah.
Andy's here. He says hi. What's up, Andy? How you guys doing? I'm glad. Thanks for everybody for tuning in and keep sending Tatiana some questions and comments. She's more than happy to answer them.
Mhm.
Um,
Oh,
so what do you got
definitely.
going on like currently? You said you mainly wrestle out in the Pittsburgh area, right? But I mean, what do you got? You got anything coming up where people can see you wrestle?
Let's see. I have I current For the next 2 months, my November is finished up as far as
Right.
shows, which is fine.
Mm.
As far as the next 2 months, though, I have two announced shows, which are I will be defending my 1CW Women's Championship on December 9th. That match has not quite been announced yet, though, so I don't think I can say who I'm going to face.
Okay.
And then December 22nd, TTT Pittsburgh is having the Brandon St. James Christmas special. I literally just learned the name of the show today and I already forgot it, but it's going to be a pretty wild to end the year off. And I'm sure we're going to have Christmas trees and other zany props to work with. And that'll be in New Kensington, PA. And then this was just announced last week, so I can talk about it and be excited. I will be making my debut for Peregrine out in Indiana for Project Gemini on January 5th. And
Awesome.
I do not know at this time who I will be facing, but I'm really, really excited to go down there and, try to make my way onto that main roster.
Seems like they want you at SWO. There's another SWO fan there.
I'm
um,
down. I'd love to throw it
so
out there.
so speaking of 1CW, you might know this guy. Sean Hardy is here, and he says, "What an awesome talent she is. We at 1CW are proud to have her."
That Oh my God, Sean, that is so sweet. Thank you. I appreciate
That is
that.
awesome.
I love that. That just shows there's a good culture there when folks come on here to support each other. I love that.
And Sean, by the
I've
way, you're
really
welcome on this show anytime. I have
Absolutely.
talked to you. I have met and talked to you before, but you probably don't remember. Uh,
I I genuinely have enjoyed my time working with 1CW. The roster is great. Everybody is so kind and professional. The fans are a lot of fun to interact with. Although I don't think they particularly like me but it's fine. It's not a big deal. um, that said, though, it's a really good environment. They've really got something special going on down there.
Well, that's my next question, because I have heard that you have kind of embraced both roles wherever you go. It's whatever they need, right? So if you're a heel one place, you might be a face another place. Which one do you prefer? Because some wrestlers don't care, but some wrestlers prefer one over the other.
Oh, it depends. Because there's so much to love about both sides of the coin. I really like down at T2T. I love being a good guy and coming out to Helena and getting the crowd to sing along with me. Like, that's such a rush and gives me just such a good pick me up vibe before I get into the ring and have the match. But at the same time, you guys saw me at 3WA and I was working heel, and I don't know how long you stuck around after the show, but I kind of also love being a bad guy and interacting with the crowd in and out of the ring.
Yes.
I've gotten just so creative with how I interact with the crowd and how I can get them to like sort of react to me. And I've also gotten creative with like sort of selling my product to them when I'm not wrestling. I show off my talent in the ring, and then outside I'm like, okay, now here's my stuff. Buy it because you like what I'm doing. And I like getting to kind of go over the top with that and, be sort of in your face. It's nice to sort of let out a little bit.
They're a feisty crowd at 3WA. They will support you whether you're heel or not. If you're good, if you get their attention, they will support you. And I know that we know a lot of them. They've basically become family, and they have said lots of good things about you. They definitely want to see you again in the near future. Sean, Professor Sean says, shoot me the invite. It'd be honored to do the show, he says. He likes it.
Great.
Appreciate that, Sean. Sean Hardy.
Absolutely. Love that.
But yes, I don't know if you know, but I root for heels. Okay. It started back with Roddy. It started back with Roddy Piper and Macho Man Randy Savage, and I've always rooted for the heels. So when you came out as a heel, I was like, okay, you didn't even wrestle yet, and so I wanted, but I root for the heels, and the Professor tries to keep me, grounded, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what he said when I was away from the booth last night. I was not shooting you down for, the Professor was, in case you don't know, Tatiana, because I know you weren't there, but the Professor got involved in a match physically last night, and I had every right to tear him apart for not doing his job and sitting next to me, but I did not, as he will hear on commentary. I gave him his props because the match itself was, and it was Theo Ivory versus Wyndham James Winthrop III. And as much as I love heels, I can't root for Wyndham James Winthrop III because he is the heel of heels. Like, he is like, he's the super heel. You know what I mean? And he's so bad that I just can't do it. I can't support a guy with doing some of the things that he does and says. So that means he does his job well, right? But at the same time, the Professor is my partner, so I'm not gonna root for him to get demolished by a wrestler if he interferes. And but I mean, it was a last man standing match. Hopefully, it ends that feud. It was very good. Keith and I enjoyed calling it. It was a very good match, and those guys both watched this program. If not live, they watch it down the road. So kudos to both of you. That was a hell of a fight you guys had last night. Hell of a fight and hell of a story. I mean, a year-long story, and they only had 2 matches in that entire year, and they managed to keep people interested and keep the issue going for a full year, and they only needed to have 2 matches, and both matches, the crowd were on their
Imagine that.
They were hot for it.
And they lost their minds at the end. The crowd lost their minds at the end, and that's what you want. Yes. Chris Vant, do you have entrance music? And if so, how did you come to it?
Hmm. I'm wondering if he's asking if I made my own entrance music. So
No,
I
I
don't.
think he's asking like what. Yeah, I think he meant to say what is your entrance music,
Oh, okay,
and
okay,
because and how did you pick it, so to speak?
okay. So I have three different entrance songs that I use depending on where I'm at, and kind of what they need. There's quite a few
Mm-hmm.
promotions that they need copyright free music. So when
Hmm.
I'm at such a promotion, I come out to a remix of Waltz of the Flowers from
Okay,
Nutcracker.
from
um,
Nutcracker. Yeah.
yeah, it's a really fun little remix, and it's actually perfect for working face or heel. It has a very slow beginning, and then a little big build up. And depending on what I'm working, I can just like sort of vibe along with it. I can either be posh and in your face and don't you look at me, I'm not worth it. Or well, you're not worth it, I guess,
Worth
as
it.
a heel.
Yes.
Or more like if I'm an ethereal fairy floating along the breeze. That's a good guy. um my my main theme song though is Daffodil by Florence and the Machine. I love
It makes too much
Florence's music.
sense.
Oh, for sure. My friend sent it to me and said, I think you need to listen to this because you were looking for something new. And it was perfect.
Absolutely.
And that one has like a big exploding jump into the music. So I just sort of take advantage of that. And, same thing where I change the vibe, whether I'm working heel or face. But that's the one that just sort of makes me the most geared up to go. I just It makes me feel like a flower opening its petals, if you will. And then my tag team entrance with Nyx
Oh,
Wild and Reese Hayes for the Wildflowers is Helena by My Chemical Romance. And
there
that
you
one
go.
is just so much fun. It is an absolute blast. We've only used it at T2T Pittsburgh. I'm hoping we can like get tag team bookings outside of TTT in the future so that we can sort of test the waters with it and play around. But for now, how it goes is you get that big beat drop, we run out, we run through the crowd, we get everybody hyped up, and then we jump on the apron and we get everybody to sing the chorus with us. And we turn it into a big sing along.
Love it. And that's been a thing lately, right? I mean, a lot of wrestling fans on TV sing along to, whether it's AEW or WWE, sing along to the wrestlers' theme songs a lot. That's something that the fans love to do.
Oh, absolutely. The first time we tried it was in a big Survivor Series match where myself and Nyx were like sort of the leaders of our team. And we came out with it just to like get the crowd behind us and get us going to face the heels in the match. But music is when you have a good song, regardless if it like fits your vibe or not, when you have a good song, people pay attention to it. And when
Hmm.
you get them to sing along with you, you've done your job of getting them invested in your work. Whether you have a good match or not, they are paying attention, they are watching you, and they're behind you.
So Thundercat's back. He says, we are hosting a tag team tournament in February at ACWA down in Alabama. All teams are welcome.
Ooh, all teams are welcome. Well, like I said, the Wildflowers are looking to get out there a little bit more. So, Greg, we may have to have a conversation.
And Greg, you can follow her and her friend her on Facebook at Tatiana Wrestles.
Yes.
And Greg Winners is Greg Thundercat Cable. So you guys definitely should talk.
Hmm.
Yes,
Like it.
absolutely.
Love it. Awesome. So now comes the part where I get a little awkward because I hate asking this question, but I love at the same time because it's an interesting question to ask. Where do you see yourself in 5 years as far as wrestling goes?
I have to be very careful about how I answer this because the last time I answered a "Where do you see yourself in 5 years?" question, I
Mhm.
made it happen.
Okay.
Um, in 5 years, I see myself. Um, I don't see myself in Pittsburgh anymore. I love Pittsburgh. It is my home, and I will forever be grateful to the city and the people in the city who have made my journey come as far as it has. I just feel like I need to go elsewhere to sort of bring myself to where I want to be. So I do not see myself in Pittsburgh, but I do see myself having upped the ante, um, being a more consistently traveling wrestler, um, just making my way towards being a full-time wrestler rather than just wrestler on the weekends, such
Right.
and such during 9 to 5. So out and about is where I see myself.
That's a good answer, and it's an attainable goal. I mean, a lot of wrestlers want to jump and say, "Well, I hope I'm signed by a major company or something like that." And that, of course, that's everybody's goal. I mean, if you got that call or somebody said, "Hey, would you like to try out for NXT?" I'm sure you would get your way down to Florida ASAP. But at the same time, I believe, and Keith and I have been doing this for 3.5 years now. I believe that the best answer is the one you just told, which is you just want to be better. And being booked more often, being out there doing it more often, being in a little bit more demand rather than you trying to drive to a show and see if they, see what's up or just, whatever, is obviously an attainable goal for you. So that's a really good answer, very good as far as, your mindset goes.
You can
Yeah,
make a living
well,
on the independents. It's hard, but you can do it if you can string enough bookings together. I mean, Matt Cardona's doing it, and
mhm.
yes, Matt Cardona very much the exception, not the rule. But like you said, you're not going to be able to get the opportunities you want if you stay in one place. Even
Right.
if it's a place that's a hotbed of wrestling, still, you're only going to have the same opponents. You're only going to have the same matches and the same fans. You've got to get out there to be able to work those different styles, to build your name, and to be able to have those people that are like, oh, gee, I really need, a woman's wrestler to do something. And they'd be like, I know, girl. I know this girl named Tatiana. She can do it for you, And that's never going to happen if you're not out there making those connections and being in front of those people.
For sure. And there's also just an element of like, you can only learn, the people around you can only teach you so much,
Right.
Yeah.
especially where I'm at in the game. I've been doing this for a good number of years now. I'm I'm sort of in between being newer blood and vet
Right.
status. There's like a really weird
Right.
in between place.
It's
Mm-hmm.
that five
And
year
I'm
thing,
not,
right, Keith?
yeah, I'm neither. I'm not one, I'm not the other.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, Pittsburgh, like you said, is a hotbed of wrestling right now. And there's
Mm-hmm.
so many wonderful people teaching people how to wrestle right now. There's so many places you can go and get a proper wrestling education.
Mm-hmm.
But I've already gotten that education and I've done everything that I can do with that education. And it can still help me for now, don't get me
Oh,
wrong.
yeah.
But I feel like I need to go be someone else's brand new student and be
Yeah.
fresh in the water.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Awesome. So, there, excuse me. The, do you pay much attention to TV at all? Do you pay much attention to AEW or WWE or anything like that? Because some wrestlers don't.
I I do my I do my best to keep an eye on it. Um the thing is I don't have a lot of free time and I also don't pay for cable, so I don't have access to televised wrestling right now. I still
Okay.
get snippets of it. I still hear the news and read the dirt sheets, and
Mhm.
if a match comes across my lap, I'll give it a watch because hey, wrestling can't go wrong.
Right.
I feel like I know where this question's going now.
No, 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 no. Where's it going?
I was wondering if you were about to ask me if I've been paying attention to the recent stuff in WWE, which I did catch.
No,
Which I did
no.
see happen.
Yeah, we know. We normally talk about you and whoever's on our show. We talk about the indie scene and we talk about you. We try to
Mhm.
keep it as less WWE and AEW as possible. The only reason why I mention that
Fair.
is because I'm always interested in whether or not somebody who wrestles and is looking to wrestle for a living pays any attention to what's going on the mainstream in places like WWE or AEW. Just as as for a minute, you take off the wrestling hat and you become a fan again, and you watch it on TV.
I got you. Yeah, no, with that context in mind, yeah, I don't as actively seek it just because I personally don't have as much time as I would like to do so.
Yeah,
But when I have the opportunity to watch it, I do. It's it's good to sort of let yourself be a fan, and it's good to sort of watch what's happening for the major audience, because especially if you're trying to get in front of that audience, you kind of want to see like, all right, well, that doesn't seem to be working and they don't really seem to care about that, so I'm not going to do that. But that guy over there is doing something and they're going nuts, so I'm going to pay attention and see how I can sort of emulate it in my way, and, or at least do something similar, like figure out what that formula is.
this comment here says, "Yo, keep the dreams flowing, never stop learning, always positive, never surrender."
For
That's
sure.
good stuff. That's good stuff. All right, Tatiana. Well, I'll tell you what. I've pretty much run out of questions to ask you. It went really smooth and really fast. So all I'm going to say is, number one, I what I've learned in the past 45 minutes is that you have the great mindset to succeed in anything you do in life. That's really great to hear. Somebody who's been in the game for 4 years has the mindset of not only never stop learning, but also like, even though WWE and AEW is a dream that could happen, it's obviously something that you need to work hard for, and it's not going to happen overnight. If you want it, though, I think it can be yours. But the fact that your next 5-year plan is to just be out there wrestling every weekend in different states and making a semi living off this business is a great mindset to have. Plus, we have the privilege of seeing you wrestle live at 3WA. And let me tell you, I think that the whole thing, the character, the move set, the way you conduct yourself, especially as a heel, but that's my private happiness talking, um, can take you far in the business. And Keith and I wish you nothing but the best in everything you do from here on out.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm really glad that my performance left such a positive impact on you guys.
Um,
Absolutely.
One last question before we get out of here, and when we go off the air, don't go anywhere, okay? And that is,
Absolutely.
is there anybody out there in wrestling that you have not taken on yet that you would like to? If not the near future, soon.
I have two on the top of my head. I kind of want to do a list of three. I would love to face Danny Moe, who is local competitor. She's incredible. I've worked alongside of her for years, and I would really love to step into the ring with her.
Mm-hmm.
Junie Underwood, who is a Philadelphia guy, but he has been at TTT Pittsburgh quite a bit this year, and he's incredible in the ring. I would just love to step in and throw hands with him. And this one is never going to happen. It's her last rodeo, and I have the wherewithal to know that I haven't made a big enough impact for this to happen. But if the stars were to align, I would love to step into the ring with Mickie James. If somehow those stars came to fruition and lined up in just the right way, I would jump on that opportunity in a heartbeat.
You know what the coolest thing about professional wrestling is that you never say never. CM Punk showed up at the Survivor Series, so never say never. Okay.
No, certainly can't say never.
Keep grinding, keep learning, win the crowd, and what makes you a future, and that what makes you a future star.
For sure.
We hopefully hope that does happen. If it's possible, if Mickie James were to do an indie run or something, you might cross paths with her. You don't know. Some wrestlers don't ever want to stop wrestling, and once she's off TV and out of her contracts and this and that and the other thing, you never know. She might cross your path and you might have a conversation and she might say, you know what, we should work. You know what I'm saying? You never know.
Yeah, you never know.
Actually,
even getting to learn from her would be a privilege.
That actually happened to a friend of ours. He grew up a fan of Matt Cardona, and he got to work Matt Cardona a couple of years ago, and they've actually since become friends. It was one of those, the opposite of they say don't meet your heroes, and he's like, my God, meeting my hero was everything I thought it would be, and then some.
And more. Love it. Definitely. And all right, so Tatiana, thank you for allowing us to get to know you tonight, and for allowing the rest of our audience to get to know you as well. And again, we hope to see you down the road, if not in 3WA, maybe SWO, maybe we get that Kimberly Spirit match, whatever. But whatever we see you in, I know it's going to be entertaining. And if you want to follow this young lady, check out Tatiana Wrestles on Facebook. Do you have any other social medias you want to promote, or anything else we didn't talk about that you want to promote?
Yeah, absolutely. You can find me on pretty much everything at Tatiana Wrestles, on X, on Instagram, on TikTok. My YouTube is Tatiana the Wrestler. So not exactly the same, but just look up Tatiana, look up wrestling at the same time. You'll probably find me.
Mickie James was my first women's champion. How ironic. But that.
Oh, that's so cool. Hey,
Prince Piranha's here.
I'm just saying, if we haven't announced something nice. We haven't announced it yet. It's hot.
I love it. All right. I love it. I hope that does happen for you. So in the meantime, Professor, do you know who's here next week on the hot seat?
I do. It's Prince Shango.
Our old friend Prince Shango from CCW, from Valor Pro Wrestling, from Seven Mountains, has been forced to retire. So he is going to tell his entire story and his retirement story, and also talk about his new podcast, Three Beards Podcast, which I will be a guest on December the 4th. But next Sunday here on Around the Turnbuckle at 6 p.m., Prince Shango will be here. In the meantime, for Professor Keith and the unwilting Tatiana, I'm the Big Al Boski, and this was Around the Turnbuckle. We'll see you guys next time.
You think you know me?
Oh, yeah! If you smell!
Calculations are correct. When this baby